This is going to be the second episode of Drater Conversations. So that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, very crazy.
When I started this podcast, I thought that I was going to make lots of videos and go through songs all the time with John. However, life got busy.
Yeah, you need more variety.
Yeah, now I'm doing a podcast every 2 years.
Might be nice for someone who saw one episode to come back completely forgotten about it and think, oh, that's something that I watched on my YouTube history about 16 years ago. Huh, episode 3 now.
The last episode got 22 views, so give a round of applause for that.
Woo!
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Drater Conversations. I'm here with
Joe.
Joe. I'm here with Joe. Today's topic isn't music. However, maybe next time we'll do music.
Maybe.
For now, I want to talk about game jams. Just kidding. I want to talk about games, actually.
Yeah, more like a 66.6% game jams.
So, yeah, I want to talk to Joe about lots of different things, including life goals, just the game he's working on, and just indie games in general and his thoughts on them. To start off, Joe, why don't you tell us a bit about your gaming indie game history and where you are right now?
Alright, so, I don't really have much of a dark beginnings that emotionally thrust me into making indie games. But I know it started when I first heard about Scratch, an easy way of making little games, kind of just for kids. And yeah, I was a kid, and I'm not saying I'm an adult now, but I've evolved more. Yeah, I remember I had some pretty big like ideas for Scratch, but I didn't. I wasn't able to do it because Scratch. So I know took a big break between switching engines, but I eventually took a course on JavaScript to learn how to make games. But JavaScript isn't exactly the best language to make games with. But I did find this web-based game engine called Play Canvas, and I made games for that for like a year or two. The way Play Canvas works is basically your projects can't exceed a certain amount of storage because then you'd have to pay for like a bigger subscription or something. I was using it free, so it wasn't that great. So I eventually switched to Unity to learn C Sharp, which is a lot better, and I'm still using Unity today. So that's basically it.
So, let's talk about the early days to start and some of your inspirations. So, what inspired you to look at Scratch as a start?
Well, the same way I learned JavaScript was the way my brother tried. I think he tried taking a course on making games. He never really liked it that much because it used Scratch. I think it was something like that. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but I know it was part of his course to make games on Scratch. And yeah, I just looked at what he was able to do, and I was a little inspired by that.
Did you ever make any games yourself on Scratch?
Made a few. I don't know if I really released a few, but they were all just like little quick demos. I remember, you know how everyone goes through a FNAF phase, and it's up to them whether they stick with it the rest of their life or if they quit it in like a month or two. And so I was in my month or two long FNAF phase, and I tried making a fan game, and that was when I realized that Scratch is pretty small. Now, of course, other Scratch developers can make amazing things with Scratch. But I was like, what, 8 or something? I don't know. So yeah, that was when I realized it's not that powerful.
So tell me a bit about how you learned to code and who taught you and how you, or if you self-taught, or did you someone teach you, or how did that go?
Well, um, there was this course I took. I took it on a site called VLAX. Apparently, I got some high school credit from it, so that was nice. But that's not what it was for. I just wanted to learn how to program, and I got what I came for. And so I I took the course. It was just JavaScript, so I couldn't learn anything about HTML or CSS or any of the other languages to make websites or whatever. But it worked on the current website that they had me programming on. They had me programming on VidCode, which was a little similar to Scratch, but with text-based code, of course. Yeah, it's kind of like for like if Scratch was for 6-year-olds or 8-year-olds, VidCode was for like preteens.
So like someone around your age when you were doing it.
Yeah, although the course on VLAX, it said it was for like teenagers. I was like 11 or something.
Did you like the doing the course?
Yeah, I did like it. Um, I liked my first teacher. Yeah, something funny. I actually went through many teachers. There were like 3 in total. That was probably because I took so slow to submit things. Um, but yeah, I went through 3. I only really remember the first one though. But yeah, that's basically the teachers.
Well, clearly he stuck with you for you to remember him.
Yeah, that was probably because to me I thought he looked a bit like Hawkeye. And I thought that was funny.
That's great.
Not well, not I shouldn't say Hawkeye. Um, Jeremy Renner. Yeah.
I guess you enjoyed doing that class, and I guess it kind of like brought up your early knowledge of how to code, like basic coding.
Yeah, like once you know the basic um layout or like the basic type or like basically
Once you learn the basics, you can kind of switch to other engines, and they all kind of work together.
yeah, how many times am I going to say basic in this video or podcast?
Like basically like run, go to, insert and stuff like that. The real basics.
Yeah, the basic scripting.
That must have been pretty awesome. And from then on out, how did you get inspired to start making actual games in Unity and other engines of the similar sort?
I think it's always just been to make games, but if you're wondering how do I want to go to like played canvas, I was just looking around everywhere to find game engines that I could program in. And even after learning how to, do JavaScript, I was considering other things like Game Maker, I think, Construct, some of those other like code-free engines. I didn't really like it, so I eventually settled with Play Canvas, and it was pretty nice because it was free, and I'd say it's fairly similar to Unity, so it was a pretty easy conversion. So that was nice.
What actually inspired you to make to make video games in general? Was there someone you watched online? Have you just always been inspired by like playing games?
It might have been me watching devlogs on YouTube. Um, I haven't watched him in a while, but I think the first one was Danny, obviously. So yeah, that was probably like one of the first ones.
When I wanted to go, become a producer for music, right? It was mainly because I was just so interested in the development of songs, like the different layers and the tracks. Was it kind of similar for you? You played a lot of games and then kind of like like was really intrigued by what was going on behind the scenes?
Um, Not until like about a year ago, but basically early on, I didn't play a ton of games except for Minecraft, and especially since I was much younger back then, and between now and then, it's a big like I don't know maturity boost, and so you think more about things, I guess, and so I think I don't think it was from me playing games at all. I think it was just me watching other people make games.
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty awesome. Let's talk about your first games that you made with Play Canvas.
Play Canvas. I remember. I think I actually. Oh man, I I just remembered the first game I actually released on Play Canvas. Um, Currently, I have an itch.io page, and Play Canvas exports to HTML or to like a web build, so I can port HTML files from Play Canvas to itch.io. But I guess I just forgot to do it for this game, my very first released game. But that was my first ever released game on Play Canvas was Space Trash Galaxy. At least I think that's what it was called.
Was that a reference to Mario Galaxy?
Absolutely, yeah.
What was the game like?
Um, Kind of like 3D Flappy Bird. It was basically kind of like those game show things where the walls are coming towards you with holes in them, and you have to fit through them, like move your body into position. It's somewhat similar to that, except you just play as a cube. You can't exactly bend the cube in weird positions. You just fly around like Flappy Bird, except there's an x-axis that you can move. It's not just jumping. So yeah, you would move back and forth, and you would jump through the holes. And well, it's not exactly a game that you can get extremely original with, especially if the game is especially if the player is a square. And so I only made like maybe 10, 20 walls that you can fly through or jump through. So pretty short game, but it did take place in space because I used a space background or something, and that's why I called it Space Trash Galaxy.
Pretty sure you sent this one to me, right? And it was the one with the it was the one where you would jump through the walls, but it was really
Yeah,
hard and it would like send you back to the first one if you got one wrong.
yeah, you would restart the game if you missed it. My platformers have always, or my the games where you jump that I've made have always been fairly hard, and that's not just because it's really tough to do. No, it's just because I send them back to like the beginning of the level or game or whatever.
Kind of reminds me of the first game that one of the best games that John made on Scratch. It was called like the Great Blue Blob or something like that. I can't remember, but he did it for school. He had to make a game on Scratch, and what he did is he made this blob that was basically just an adventure story where you can't touch certain colors and you have to jump around them on platforms. Otherwise, you get sent back to the beginning again. I just remember playing this game and it was super frustrating because you just get sent back and back again and again every time you hit the smallest wall.
That's kind of the difficulty of my games, like not like unfair enemy placements or anything, but just when you die, like you're screwed.
What's the next one you made? Was that Dice? Was that the Dice game?
No, it was actually the Animal Avoiding and Coffee Collecting Simulator. It was a 2D platformer where you had to avoid these little enemies for that I just put quick pixel art sprites of basic animals like I don't know, they were 8-bit, so very ugly sprite work, especially since it's by me. But what you would do is you collect a piece of coffee on one part of the level, and then you have to make it to the end of the level. That's basically it. But you had to get the coffee first. Yeah, this is my first itch.io release page.
If anyone on the rare Earth occasion wants to go there, then sure.
I mean, it's more traffic. It's better.
True. Who knows who'll see this podcast? Nobody, but somebody.
22 people.
22 people. Anyway, so you made a dice game next, right?
Yeah, so the coffee collecting and animal avoiding simulator was for Game Jam, and that was the mini jam, I believe. They do it every 2 weeks. It's a little inside joke there.
On the weekends?
Yeah, and the dice game was for a different game jam, not a mini jam, but it's for the GMTK game jam. I don't know if it was 2022 or 2021, but it was one of those. Actually, I think it was 2022. Yeah. It was a first-person puzzle game similar to Portal, except without the cool parts. So you just walk around this black and white little small rooms. There are buttons that you would put the dice cube on. You just lift it up and place it down on buttons. And then you do sometimes you would do a little platforming. I remember there was one level where, there was this ramp, and you had to walk, I think, diagonally on it. And the way the movement worked was if you walked diagonally, it made you faster. And so the only way to beat the level was to walk diagonally across the ramp and onto another platform with the winning stone button thing that made you win. That was the one I remember. There was one other, but I don't need to explain that.
Would you say this was one of the first games you may have been like actually kind of proud of, or would that be like the coffee collecting one?
Definitely this dice one, because coffee collecting, that one, if you're showing footage, you can probably tell it kind of sucks.
So what are your experiences with game jams? What are your thoughts on game jams in general? Like just the idea of being able to make a game, but you have a short amount of time to make it in.
The reason I love them so much is because they make me finish a game. Like, even if it's in a trash state, just as long as it has an ending, that's great.
Yeah, it's an awesome idea to give yourself a time limit. It reminds me of the first time I heard of game jams when I was a kid. I was probably about 8 or 9 years old, maybe 10, and my brother was showing me a game jam of Minecraft. So there was this convention back in the early days called Mind Test, and what it was is a group of people would sit down and they would all try to remake Minecraft in like 1 week or something like that, which is really hard to do because Minecraft is a
Yeah.
really big game now. So I remember him downloading one and playing through it, and I remember really thinking it was pretty cool that you could recreate this all in like 1 week.
Yeah, they're really fun, unless they're not.
Now, we have to address the elephant in the room. Your biggest game, the game that's been in development for the longest time. Why don't you tell me a bit about it?
All right. So it's called Your Mom. And all
I
right,
wasn't
no,
expecting that.
it's really called Woodbound. Um, I just really like the word Woodbound. It's the name of a road I live near, but it's this 2D platformer. It used to have this little move that you could make to spin with your hat, and you could glide a little, but it's just a platformer made in Unity this time, so that's already better. It's definitely got better art than my other games. Like the dice game only had like one custom texture. Wasn't even made by me though. But the Woodbound. I've been working on it for like 9 months now. So that's always nice when you worked 9 months on something. But here's the catch: I haven't got much done yet. At least not much that I should have gotten done. It was mostly because getting movement perfect is really hard, and I'm not that great at designing levels, at least not long ones. And so I'm currently planning on, you know, drawing most of the level or most of each level by hand, just to make it so that it's not easily recognizable as tile mapped. But of course, I am still going to use tile maps for the majority of like the collidable ground and stuff.
So yeah, tell me about what your future plans are for this game.
So I kind of want it to have a little bit of a background story. Not exactly like a necessary story that you have to sit through. Something kind of like Celeste. It's not going to be like that. It's more just going to be not hidden, not a hidden story, but something similar to Rosalina's like storybook from Mario Galaxy. I know, of course, I have to reference that game, but I really like how it's a completely optional story to pay attention to. But in the game, I plan on having like between levels, not like a bunch of dialogue, but like Celeste or whatever, but more like I don't know, images or something, little animations showing like vague events happening, and by the end, you can piece them together and get this little short but sweet story.
So you've been working on this game for 9 months. That's a long time. Clearly, you must plan to do something with this if you've been working on it for so long in the future.
Well, I do eventually want to release a finished state of it, but yeah, I'll just see where I take it because I'm not gonna give up anytime soon on it.
Do you plan on ever like releasing this like officially online somewhere?
Oh yeah,
Maybe even getting a
definitely.
Kickstarter?
Kickstarter, maybe. Um, Publisher, even more maybe. Steam, only if I get a good Kickstarter or publisher. But I have no, well, I have no need to plan for getting a publisher or Kickstarter since obviously I'm not like 20 or whatever. I think I still have to make the game good. At least a good demo before I do any of that stuff.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of time to work on that demo
I
before
have a
you need to
lot of
worry
time,
about it.
especially since I'll still be doing school for a while, so that is a great time to start working on games. And I think I can, well, I'm thinking I can get the majority of the game done before I graduate high school.
Maybe have you ever considered getting more people on your team if you have find friends that are also interested, maybe online friends even?
Well, basically, currently 3 people have been working on the game, more or less. For the most of the game, all the art now and the programming, level design, all that stuff has been made by me. The music in the game, though there's not much of it, has been made by Jimmy or James. And there was a logo or the title image. You can probably show that on the screen. And so Harry from Harry's Quest, aka Christian Bros, aka Harry D, aka the brother of Epic D Animations, aka Odimations, aka Oddmations. He Harry, I asked him to give me a little logo for the game. He made a little one, a little crappy. Um, he definitely didn't put a ton of time into it, but he sent it to me. I thought it looked nice, and I it wasn't pixel art sadly, so I had to. What I did is I went over it with pixels, and I just made it, you know, look like it fit more in the game.
It's awesome. So, as just a final thought, and I know we're a, many years away from actually having to think about this, but you ever considered that maybe making a game could be something you do like as a real indie developer maybe someday?
I've thought of that because, well, obviously it's something about luck, but not entirely. It's probably the best job you can think of because, well, for game development, either you get to work with people, pretty closely, and you get to make lots of things. You get to program for it, which isn't it's not you get to you have to program for it. Not always though, but you get to make art for it. You get to make music. It's like basically I'd rather make video games than either make art or music. Um, I would. I think making video games is a lot more than just making art and just making music and just making whatever the third thing is and whatever the fourth thing is. It's the whole package. You're a jack of all trades. So you say if you make a game with beautiful art and beautiful music and it's functioned really well, then if you ever wanted to get another job or something that isn't related to game development, you could put that in your resume for like artist, musician, programmer. They can take any one of those and they can get you a good job for that. Like you could get graphic design, but I think yeah, it's better to be a jack of all trades than a jack of one trade.
Yeah, so I think that's mostly everything I want to talk about on this episode. You have anything else you want to say in general or whatever?
If you want to check out my game or any of my games, you can check them out at https:// bluemeanie169.itch.io.
We'll put the link in the description for anyone who wants to go check out what Joe has made so far. He's made some cool stuff. Granted, don't expect anything high quality.
Yeah, expect things pretty low quality.
That comes with experience, and you're gonna need a lot more experience, and that's perfectly
Yeah,
fine. You're learning.
there's this guy I watch a lot, Thomas Brush. He was saying you have to release two crappy games before working on a huge game that you're going to release on Steam and Switch and Xbox, PlayStation. Honestly, I think I'm going to have to release a lot more than that.
Dude, that's totally okay. You know what that reminds me a lot of? The guy who made the Stanley Parable. I believe I showed you this game, but he made a game a little bit later after the Stanley Parable released. And it was a game featuring all of the games that he made growing up. He made like 40 games before he actually released one that was good, or that sold well. So that's totally okay.
My mouse battery cover is broken.
Anyway, that's all we got time for today.
No!
Thank you for listening to Drater Conversations, your home of all the stuff that that Draters talk about, because we all know what Draters are if you're in the loop. If you're not in the loop, get in the loop. Easy.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening,
Yeah,
and
you're welcome.
see you next time. Say goodbye, Joe.
Bye.
Are you playing your Game Boy?
No.
I hear that.
Well, what do you?
Is that Tetris?
No.
And cut.